Welcome to the Deep Dive. So, today we're tackling something you asked about, the whole maze of consumer protection laws across the globe.
That's right.
Ever bought something online from, I don't know, another country and wondered, are my rights the same?
Mm-hmm. It's a common
We've
question.
gone through quite a bit of material to sort of map this out for you, the core ideas, where protections are strongest and, well, what you need to keep in mind.
Exactly. We're looking at the fundamentals, the differences you'll see, what international groups are doing, and those trickier bits when you buy across borders. A quick guide for the smart global shopper, basically.
Okay, let's dive in then. What are the absolute bedrock principles?
Sure.
The ideas that, well, most consumer laws seem to be built on.
Right. So at the very core, it's usually about the right to safety. Like, products shouldn't actually harm you.
Makes sense.
Then the right to be informed, knowing what you're buying. Choice is another big one, having different options. And importantly, the right to be heard if you have a complaint.
And getting it fixed.
Yes, the right to redress or a remedy often features too. If things go wrong, there should be a way to sort it out.
Got it. Okay, so some places must do this better than others. Which countries really stand out for having strong consumer protections?
Well, you often find quite robust systems in many developed nations. Think parts of Europe, North America, Australia.
What makes them strong?
Usually a mix of things. Strong government agencies, regulators who actually enforce the rules, plus active consumer groups really pushing for rights, and legal systems that, well, work effectively to hold businesses accountable.
Like the GDPR thing in the EU, that felt like it had waves everywhere.
Exactly. That focus on data privacy is a perfect example of a strong regional standard impacting things globally.
So, flip side, how does it look in, say, developing nations? Are the rights very different for consumers there?
Generally, yeah, there can be significant differences. Just getting clear information might be harder. And enforcing the laws that do exist can be a real challenge, maybe due to fewer resources or, different priorities. You might also see, unfortunately, more unfair practices sometimes and fewer clear paths for consumers to get issues resolved.
Right. Taking a wider view now, what about big international organizations?
Right.
Like the UN or the WTO? Do they step in?
They play a role, yeah, but maybe not how you think. They're more about shaping the conversation, setting standards. The UN, for instance, has guidelines on consumer protection that many countries look to.
But they don't enforce them.
Not directly, no. They don't police individual countries. The WTO is focused on trade, but trade rules do touch on consumer issues like product safety standards. So they kind of set the stage, encourage cooperation, but aren't global consumer cops.
Okay, this is where it gets really practical for you listening.
Hmm.
You see something online, sellers overseas, you click buy. What should immediately pop into your head?
Yeah, cross-border buying. This is where you need to be extra aware. First big thing is jurisdiction. Meaning, if there's a problem, whose laws even apply? Yours. Theirs. It's not always obvious. Then there's language understanding, terms and conditions, maybe communicating a problem.
That could be a nightmare.
It can be. And you're potentially dealing with a completely different legal system if you need to escalate things.
So let's say that cool gadget you bought from abroad arrives broken.
Mm.
Can you realistically do anything legally? Is it worth the hassle?
Honestly, taking formal legal action against a foreign seller can be very difficult and expensive. You've got those different legal systems, potential travel costs. That's a big hurdle.
So you're usually stuck.
Not necessarily. Before you even think courts, check your payment method. Credit cards or services like PayPal often have buyer protection programs. That can be your first and maybe best avenue.
Mm.
Sometimes there's also alternative dispute resolution, like mediation, if the seller agrees to it.
Okay, that's something. But why is it so hard to enforce these laws across borders anyway?
Well, fundamentally, there's no single global consumer law or court. So it relies on countries cooperating, which isn't always smooth.
Right.
And the internet makes it easy for sellers to be anywhere, potentially hard to track down or hold accountable in your jurisdiction. It adds layers of complexity.
Makes sense. And speaking of the internet, how is all this tech, e-commerce, digital services changing consumer law itself?
Oh, massively. Technology is constantly pushing the boundaries. We're seeing laws trying to catch up with things like online data privacy. GDPR was part of that. Also, digital transaction security, tackling misleading online ads, ensuring fairness in algorithms sometimes. It's a moving target.
So the law is always playing catch up a bit.
Often, yes. Technology moves fast.
Okay, quick practical tip then. If you're actually traveling abroad and buying things, what's the number one thing to remember?
Do a little prep if you can, maybe a quick search on basic consumer rights in that country. Definitely keep all your receipts and any warranty info.
Always keep the receipts.
Always. And if a problem pops up, try dealing directly with the seller first. If that fails, see if there's a local tourist board or consumer agency that might offer advice.
Right. Last big question. Accountability. How do companies actually get held responsible if they violate consumer rights on an international scale? Is there any real global consequence?
It's still evolving. There isn't a world consumer court handing out fines, but companies can suffer huge reputational damage globally, which they hate.
Bad PR.
Exactly. And pressure from international consumer advocacy groups can sometimes force changes. Plus, some international agreements and trade deals are starting to include stronger clauses on consumer protection standards, but it's more patchwork than a unified system right now.
So wrapping this up, it sounds like being a global consumer today is exciting, lots of choice, but you really need to be switched on about your rights or lack thereof sometimes.
That's a good way to put it. The global market is amazing, but yeah, understanding that protection levels vary and that getting help across borders can be tricky is, well, crucial for you as a buyer.
This has been super insightful, thanks. It really makes you think, though. With everything so connected now, if countries could just cooperate more effectively on this stuff, wouldn't that make things fairer and safer for everyone buying and selling? Definitely something to mull over. Thanks again for this deep dive.